when people ask me why I give the effort that I do, I always say that I want people that don't believe in me to someday say they remember when they met me.
But I believe the great is still yet to come. I won't stop fighting, man, until I'm done.
Good morning. Welcome to the 24th episode of The Breakfast Ball. I'm your host, Bob Cardia, and to my left, your right, returning, the dashing Richie Stoltz.
Sorry I wasn't here last week, guys.
Yes, well, he wasn't here last week for a very specific reason, folks. Richie was trying to qualify for the U.S. Open.
No,
well,
I was...
Well, you also had your sister's graduation.
Yes,
so.
But I was focused on that as well.
Yeah, so he was...
There's a couple reasons.
He was multitasking last week. But just so you know, as we always say, if you get something out of the program, when you're rich and famous, we get 10%. Anyway, also said that the first person to comment on the podcast this week, we have a Starbucks gift card that we will send you. So please feel free to comment at hopefully a positive comment.
Hopefully, you never know.
If you're commenting negatively, then we're not sending you the gift card. Just say.
Actually, how about this? First person to comment, I love the breakfast ball.
Oh, or something like that.
First person to comment, I love the breakfast ball, or something along those lines, we will send you a Starbucks gift card.
There you go. All right. That works. Something positive. Which, it was really, really cool. I had a lesson yesterday, John. And the first time this happened, but he signed up for a lesson, and he came in, and I'm like, hey, Bob Cardia, nice to meet you. And he said, well, I know exactly who you are. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, how? He's like, I watch your podcast. And you know what, John, if you're watching, because he said that you do, I love that. That was awesome. Yeah. That's, knowing that you're making a positive impact and that people are like what you're saying and buy what you're saying, that's huge. Half why I coach is to do stuff like that, is to get people to say, hey, this is making an impact on my thought process. So, awesome. So with that said, subscribe, folks, if you're watching out there. Quickly, Richie just had U.S. Open qualifying yesterday. And thank you to Richie's Army. Thank you, Q. Thank you, Amanda, Mary. Everybody was out there watching Richie and supporting him yesterday. That was wonderful. I tried to get out there myself, but I did get out there myself yesterday. But the leaderboard was messed up. Apparently it didn't update for an hour. So it said Richie was even or 1 over through 7 or something like that. So Annabelle, the unicorn, and I went out, started going back down 9, only to discover that it was an hour delayed. So you were way out on the back 9. So the 2-hour break I had between lessons, I could not get out to see Richie, but I was there. Actually, I was talking to Ron Jaworski for a bit because I taught his kids. He says he has 7 grandchildren right now. So that's It was good seeing you, Ron, if you're watching the podcast anyway. He was friends with my dad. My dad was a big hugger, so he was. Yeah. That's how Ron remembers my dad as a big hugger. But anyway, so Richie, we're gonna talk about your journey of yesterday. So I have the quote, and everybody knows I start with a quote. When people ask me why I give the effort that I do, I always say that I want people that don't believe in me to someday say they remember when they met me. Right, so that's pretty damn cool. Yeah. I love that because that's a lot of people. They're the naysayers on this planet, and there are way more naysayers on this planet than there are people thinking. I always think of that movie, A Pretty Woman, when Richard Gere says to Julia Roberts, "Well, you could be so much more," and she's like, "Well, the bad stuff is easier to believe," and the people that typically fail once, fail twice, they usually give up, and I mean, you were just so darn close to being where you need to be that. I think we both see a day where you're going to be hugely successful. So, So, what were your thoughts on yesterday's round?
Well, it was nice because I did go into it a little less nervous than usual.
Yeah.
I usually get pretty nervous right beforehand. I was pretty calm, cool, and collected, which was nice, and just try to go out there and play the best I can.
Yeah.
It's those tournaments are tough because it's one day. It's 18 holes.
Yeah.
It's if you go out there and make, I think I only made a couple mistakes.
Yeah.
Nothing really course management mistake wise, but just a couple bad shots where they're shots I know I can hit, I just screwed up a little
Because
bit.
when I left and several players had already finished, you were only 2 strokes off the, according to the leaderboard, which was an hour from being updated. But there were several guys that had already finished. And I'm looking at it going, wow, like, you know, if you just birdie 2 holes down this, you know, on the back 9, you're going to make this.
Yeah.
So you were right there. You're walking there. So, you know.
Yeah, it's always tough too going into the last couple holes of that thing, because when you know you're a little bit behind and
Were you aware where you stood at that point?
I knew where I was.
Oh.
So
How'd you know?
what?
How'd you know?
I knew the leaderboard.
Okay.
We were allowed to see the leaderboard.
Oh, were you on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They
I never do that.
yeah. Well, I like to because
Yeah.
if I have 5 holes to go
Right.
and I don't know where I stand,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know what people are gonna shoot out there.
Yeah.
So
true.
for me, it's if I don't know that I need a couple birdies,
Yeah.
I might start playing it a little bit safer. If I know I need a couple birdies, I might try and get a little bit more aggressive because you're either in or out. I don't have a second
Yeah,
round at this.
yeah,
you know, if it's first
yeah,
round,
yeah.
if it's round 1 of 2 rounds, I'm just gonna play the course as I so please. I'm not gonna push. I'm not gonna, you know, flag hunt, nothing like that.
So let me. I got a couple theories on this actually, and that just popped in my head. That what happened to Patrick a couple years ago? Pat was 1 or 2 shots up for the overall Player of the Year for the United East, and I guess one of our players, you know, ducked back out of the golf course after. Actually, one of our bench players ducked back out, and I think Pat asked, you know, how am I doing? And he's like, well, you know, if you just par 18, you win the whole tournament, right? According to the online leaderboard. Well, it turns out he could have bogeyed the 18th hole and won the tournament. Mm-hmm. And he took an unnecessary shot on 18 out of the hazard, ended up making double bogey, and when bogey would have won it for him. So you don't know if it's updated properly. And then 2, and this is my own personal philosophy, is I have 4 kids, as you know.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have a boy or girl. You know what? I'd just rather be surprised. Like, I'm just going to I'm going to be grateful for whatever happens and go from there. In my mind, and people think differently, but like, if I know something ahead of time and it's not 100% certainty, it affects my thought process.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
So when I was in high school, the last tournament I ever played in high school, I really wanted to win it because it was the same tournament my freshman year that got me to stick with
you
golf.
want to win everything.
Well, of course. But I came into the 18th hole. I was told I was winning the tournament. I was beating all the guys. I was in the number 1 group. I was beating everybody. And I remember I just lackadaisically hit a putt, you know, because I had everyone beat, and tapped the next one in, shot, I think it was 1 over or something like that. Well, a guy comes in later on, you know, out of nowhere at 1 under. And I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
Like, my heart was, like, broken because I'm over here thinking I won the tournament, like, let's go. And the next thing you know, someone comes in and beats me. Now, rumor has it the kid cheated. Can't tell you for sure, but I've heard from multiple sources, ex-teammates, coaches, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But, you know, still, if I knew where I stood, if I knew that, you know, I had to 2-putt to get into a playoff, I think I would have had a little bit more focus there.
Yeah.
And, you know, going into the last couple holes, like, I'm fearless in a way, because I'm like, if I don't make a couple birdies, I lose either way.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go in there, you know,
It's
guns
interesting,
blazing, trying to make it in.
And I think that jaded the way that you think about these things, which is understandable. Interesting. Okay, so there's a famous Arnold Palmer story. I don't know if you know this. You could Google this one, where he has a tournament won, and he's walking at 18th fairway. I guess a friend of his or something is in the gallery, like reaches out beyond the ropes and shakes his hand. It's like, "Congratulations, Arnold, you got this one." And Arnold said for that split second, he lost focus, right? And ended up, I don't think he made a bogey all day at that point. I could be wrong, but I think that's the way the story goes. And he ended up bogeying 18 and losing the tournament. Because for that split second, it took his mind off of what it is. I don't know. I'm completely with you. Oh, jeez. My phone's ringing. My buddy Ryan's calling me. Ryan, if you're watching the podcast, brother, I got to call you back. His son actually wants to play college golf. Actually.
Yeah.
So he actually wants to be fit for golf clubs, and we're now authorized reps of KZG, so he's probably going to come up for a club fitting and whatnot.
Let's go.
But yeah. So, but his son actually is a remarkable lacrosse player. Yeah. But he's also a golfer, and he was sending me his club. Whatever. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Anyway.
So, real quick, back to what you were saying. Yeah. I think it depends on the player's personality. It because there's some players where, I think it was Scotty Scheffler, who in the Masters, with like 4 holes to go, I heard the announcer say, yeah, he didn't even take a look at the leaderboard.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't want to know what the leaderboard looks like. He just wants to play his own game.
Yeah.
Me specifically, I like to know where I stand so I know how I got to play these next couple holes.
Yeah.
And obviously, there they have live scoring and it's a little bit different and whatnot, but the scores, like, it doesn't bother me. It tells me how I have to manage myself throughout the last couple holes.
All right, so let me throw this at you, because I'm going to try to get you over to my way of thinking.
Yeah.
So, you weren't here when Danny Drazen, who's not an attorney, actually played for us. And I tell this story, and you've heard me tell this story all the time. We were on the bus getting ready for the conference championship, and I'm like, all right, guys, what do you guys have to say? And Danny said, guys, if you can just beat the guy that you're playing with, because we were paired with Penn State at that point. Penn State was our primary rival. If you can just beat that guy, we're going to win. And I said, Danny, I love you, but that's a horrible way to think. And he said, well, what do you mean? I'm like, so if the guy that you're playing with, twists his ankle and shoots an 89, like, you're going to be happy shooting an 88. Like, no. I and for you, and maybe we can try it both ways and see how it works for you, is I want you to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay. So they said, Michael Jordan, who do you compare yourself to? And he said, I don't compare myself to anybody but myself. Yeah. Every time I go out in that court, I try to be the best version. I try to beat myself every time. Mm-hmm. I try to be the best player that I can be. So if you do it that way, because I honestly believe Vision 54 for Richie Stoltz. Yep. The dashing Richie Stoltz, Vision 54. Has Richie birdied 1 hole in a row? 1 hole before? Yes. 2 in a row, 3 in a row? Yes. He's, of course, record holder at Westwood. You've birdied multiple holes in a row. So rather than thinking I gotta birdie this and birdie that, why don't we just go with the assumption that giving our mental focus to birdieing every hole, and that way you don't have to worry about outside influences going on around you. Just think, I'm freaking the dashing Richie Stoltz, damn it, I'm going to birdie every hole. And that way, when you put your complete focus on a specific target, like we always talk about, like, that's where we go. Again, you said different people think different ways, and I agree with that. But I would love, for the complete laser-like focus on being, I'm going to birdie every flipping hole.
So let me tell you this too, because when I say I want to know the scores, so like most of it's so I can know if I have to be aggressive or if I can play it safe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't do anything silly. Like I'm not Tin Cup out here. If you ever watch Tin Cup and he drops like 5 balls in the water before he finally hits the green, like I'm not doing anything like that. I'm still playing things safe. Mm-hmm. Because what I'm not going to do is throw myself out of the tournament.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, like if I have 5 holes left, I know I had to make 3 birdies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go ahead and try and put the ball onto a green on a par 5 and not be able to, I'm going to...
Okay. So you're right, absolutely. So, yes. But that goes back to my 7 out of 10 rule.
Yes.
So, I mean, every once in a while, even Richie once hit a bad shot once.
Crazy,
I know. That's back in 1999 or something like that. So, anyway.
I was 2.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get a better year than that, right? I know. But let's just say, so what the fine line is that you walk is you want to birdie every hole, but let's just say, you hit one down the middle of the fairway and it hits a yardage marker and it kicks into the rough, and then you have something that you don't think you can pull off. And then my son Dylan, who caddies at the world's nicest golf course, Pine Valley, and he's in school on a caddy scholarship, he'll tell you that the theory that we talk about is 7 out of 10.
Yes.
If you can pull something off 7 times out of 10, then absolutely go for it. If you can't, then you don't. So that's if we go in with the mentality we're going to birdie every hole, and then circumstances put it where you can't, Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a matter of like my way of thinking is thinking within the dashing Richie Stoltz game plan, rather
Yes.
than letting outside influences dictate what you do.
Yeah.
But I get,
So
I get it. I get it.
I just don't want to. If I feel like I'm leading a tournament,
Yeah.
you know, I might try and play some holes a little bit safer. You know, I might use an 8 out of 10 rule.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you know, there's a couple times where this shot's not going to work out. Let me play this a little bit safer. Let me use a little bit more course management and, you know, not get myself in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know I have to make a birdie, like if I'm walking on 18 and the only thing I can do is make a birdie or else I lose,
Yeah.
I don't want to go out there and think, well, I won, let's go make a par.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go out there going, okay, you know, I got to put myself in the best position to make a birdie. Now, whether that's, I'm not going to go flag hunting. You know, that's a completely
You know,
different
I think
story.
we should do because we're looking for more events for you to play in. I think let's try it both ways one day.
Yeah.
Let's because you know life is a matter of experimenting what works for you.
Yeah.
Let's try one day leaderboard watching. Let's try one day not leaderboard watching. And you know, when you and I go out and play, let's just say like I want you to try to adopt this way of thinking.
Yeah.
And let's see what your average score gets affected.
And I'll tell you this too, if I lit the world on fire yesterday,
Yeah.
you know, if I was not even lit the world on fire, but if I
You were
was
6-7 under, let's just say.
well, okay, we'll say that.
Yeah.
I'm not scoreboard watching.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm going down the stretch for the most part knowing that I'm probably going to make it.
Right.
So let's just finish this round.
Right.
You know, let's play it, you know, for the most part safe. You know, still be aggressive, but safe.
Yeah,
you know,
play
the 7
your
out
game.
of 10.
Well, again, that's my whole point is like
Yeah.
I don't want, if for you, I don't want to see our game plan varying upon like what's happening around you because you can't. The only person in the world you can control is yourself. So
Yeah.
if your game plan gets affected by what's going on by outside influences, yeah. Imagine if this happened in the lottery. Excuse me. Happened in the lottery a few months back. They accidentally printed the wrong numbers, right? And some guy thought that he won the lottery, right? And he apparently made some purchases and started doing some like on basis on. Imagine if technology wise yesterday, like the what 200 made it.
2 under.
Yeah. Let's just say some hack in the computer. It was 2 over and not 2 under, right?
Yeah.
And put it there, and the guy got to make a birdie in this hole, and then like it turned out like you would have made it at 1 over. Like you never know.
So you're right.
Yeah.
You are completely right.
Yeah.
You never know. But I think that can also go both ways. You know, sure, there might be a time where that could hurt me.
Yeah.
But there also might be a time where that saves me.
It
So
could
it's,
be,
you know, it's- I think it
my
works.
We're both correct, but my way of thinking is, if you do it my way, it's not going to change. You're going to stay within your game plan the entire time. If you do it your way, your game plan may change based upon what's going on outside around you.
Well, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
I think that's adversity. I think you're facing
so
adversity.
great.
Now, I'm trying to hit you right in the heart here, Bob. I'm trying to hit you right in the heart.
You'll never get me off my box.
I think that's adversity.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I go into every round with a game plan. I knew where every pin was.
Yep.
So I knew exactly where I wanted to leave the ball on every shot.
Which is great.
Did I do that?
Of course not.
No, so I didn't follow my game plan the whole day. My game plan, I was not able to follow it all day. So, you know, with that comes...
but you had a clear plan.
I did have a plan.
Yeah.
I did have a plan.
Yeah.
And I had a plan for if I had to try and make birdies down the stretch, and I had a plan for if I didn't have to make birdies down the stretch. You know, I knew where, like the last 5 holes specifically planned for, okay, I have to make a birdie, or, okay, let's just make a par with a chance of a birdie.
All right, so let me ask you this, because this is, I know the answer to this question. Okay, I know the answer to this question. So, when players are playing, you know, especially the amateur player, when they're playing fairly well, and they start looking at their scorecard, and say, boy, if I birdie the last 2 holes, I'll shoot my lowest round ever, right? Or if, you know, oh man, if I just par out, I'll break 90 for the first time. Statistically speaking, what happens to those people?
They fall apart.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
So
that's my point.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I hit my best putts coming down the stretch.
You like being a pressure.
I hit my best putts coming down the stretch because I knew if I leave this short, it's not going in, and I have to get it in the hole.
So Richie defies gravity.
So well, going into those last
I
5
know.
holes,
I know.
do you want to know where I left my putts?
Oh, short.
Short.
Yeah.
Short. I think 2 of them in the heart.
Yeah.
2 of them short, right in the heart.
Yeah.
So, going into those last couple holes, guess how many I left short?
Yeah. None.
0.
Yeah.
None of my putts were left short because I knew, those other ones, I had a couple downhill slippery putts, so you're a little bit nervous
Yeah.
over them. You don't want to, you don't
You
want
always
to
wanna be
blast it
putting
past the
uphill, by the
hole.
way, folks. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
But, I'm scared of them, and I know, okay, I can, if I get away with par here, I'm good.
Yeah.
2 putts, short in the heart.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, now I have to make the birdies. I have to come down hot. I got to go out trying.
Yeah.
If I'm still scared to hit these putts, like I had a downhill putt. I did have a 3-putt coming down the stretch. But, I have these downhill putts. I'd rather give it a chance than
Yeah. Oh my God.
not a chance. And, let's see what...
That's the general rule of
Let's
thumb.
see if maybe, just maybe, I can come out, on top.
So here's our plan. If I may summarize this conversation, I think going forward that we're going to try both ways.
Yeah.
See what works. I think that you're the caliber player that I know you're the caliber player that if you play your best game, the number's going to be there.
Yeah.
My own personal way of playing is try not to let the outside influences get you. So let's mess around both ways. Like I'd like to see what it does. Like if you just go that way, but either way it's fine. But anyway, back to we had a staff meeting earlier today, and we were talking. It basically there was a quote: "You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail, and then one day you're going to win." So the quote that I was, I like is especially in today's society, don't fear failure. Remember, failure is a bruise, not a tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, especially today.
I like that.
Yeah. So you were just slightly bruised yesterday. Not even they barely laid a glove on you, but
I played well.
Yeah.
The thing is, again, too, sometimes you play better than your score shows.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think
vice versa.
yesterday was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I played with a guy that previously played on the Corn Ferry Tour. I think did 6 years on the Canadian Tour and plays golf for a living. I teach golf for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I've barely played going into this tournament.
Yeah.
And I beat the guy.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
right there, I feel like I have the talent.
Well,
I just got to put it all together in one of these rounds.
You don't win as many tournaments as you've won. You don't shoot course records. You don't beat the fourth player ranked in the country without having that kind of talent.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the stars falling your way.
Yeah.
You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. You're gonna succeed. I believe that, and that's everything that we do. That's the that's why we have this whole podcast. Folks,
Yeah.
Basically, is. I love what Jeff Collins said last week from Dogleg. Oh, by the way, Jeff, I'm wearing a Dogleg shirt today. He said that he watches his podcast, not just for the golf, and it's a performance psychology podcast with a golf background. That's what it is. The psychology basically, failure is only going to help you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway. I think we covered everything pretty decently today. Anyway.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to get on, by the way, subscribe and get merchandise. Well, not this merchandise, but our merch on South Jersey Golf Schools or Breakfast Ball. Yeah. We actually saw somebody wearing a Breakfast Ball shirt the other day at work. Let's go.
Do us a favor, too. Post in the comments who you think was right during this discussion or who you agree with. I'm just curious.
So, don't feel bad about hurting Richie's feelings at all.
You can't hurt my feelings.
I'm right. No, that's all good. All right, folks. Well, thank you for watching another edition of the Breakfast Ball. I am your host, Bob Cartier. This is the dashing, aspiring, future huge success, Richie Stoltz.
Have a great day.
Peace out.
Glass of bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. My bourbon, ha. Alcohol is no
great story ever started with, I'll have sex.